Hey, everybody. This is awesome stuff here. Five Ways to Read More Books by Heather Tipton. One of the things that changed my life, I mean, there's no question in my mind, I know this is true for me. I started becoming a voracious reader when I was, around 8 or 10 years old. I grew up about a block and a half away from the city library where I grew in Chino, California, where I grew up. And I used to go to the library just about every day, especially in the summertime. In the summertime when it was hot, we didn't have air conditioning in our home. And I would go to I'd spend all day, in the library reading. Back then I used to read, books on famous athletes and all kinds of stuff like that. I used to love to read, and I had kind of two lives. One was I was hanging out at the library with my nerd friends, and then the other was my buddies that I played sports with. And I was very athletic growing up, and I used to play football, baseball, basketball, all those sports. And so I used to have two sets of friends. But I loved reading. I was a voracious reader. In fact, my father used to get upset with me because I was reading all the time. And but there's no question in my mind, learning to love to read and being able to get lost in books and use your imagination and to learn from people that were successful has been a huge component of the success I've had in my business life and even in my personal life. I learned so much from that, and I came from a family. I'm the fifth of 11 kids. I'm sorry, I'm the fifth of 7 kids, and grew up in a 1,000 square foot house with 9 people in it. In a little tiny bathroom with 5 women actually. So, but anyways, the books really have made all the difference in my life. And like I said, I first started reading about successful athletes, and then later on, when I started thinking about becoming successful, I started reading, biographies and autobiographies of successful people. And then when I got out of college and decided to go into business, and then everything I started reading from that point was all about personal development, from sales skills to people skills to time management, leadership, emotional intelligence. I've read over the last 40 years or so over 1,500 books on all different types of personal development, trying to shore up weaknesses I had in my own, in myself, and learn from people who had done what I was trying to do. And I learned how to think like a winner. And that's one of the main things, is that as we think, we create, And so if you want to become successful, you have to start thinking the way winners think. And so I wanted to share with you this 5 ways to read more books if you haven't read books. And if you're one of those people that just doesn't like to read, or is not very good at reading, and it's not something you've done, you didn't grow up with that, and it's difficult for you. Once I think one thing that you can do is, now there's you can listen to audios. There's a app that you can get. It's called Audible, which you can get any book that's printed pretty much and listen to it if you need to. I think one of the other things, the big benefit of becoming a reader, is it expands your vocabulary, significantly, so that you can start to be able to communicate with people on a different, or maybe a higher level, and it allows you to learn how to how to get your point across, how to get people over to your way of thinking. And the better your vocabulary is, the better you'll do. I think that's really critical. And one thing those of you who have children that are hearing this call, one thing I did with my kids that really made a big difference is when they were little, when they first started to read, that would be like around first grade. We told them, okay, look, if for every book you read, you do a book report after you read the book, and you share that with us, and we'll pay you $5. I started doing that. And of course, my kids are money motivated, like all kids, wanting to buy toys or whatever. So they started reading voraciously. And then at some point, it got to where they were so into reading that we didn't need to coerce them through, paying them off to read. They just did it because they loved to. Both of them did really well in school. My daughter went to Stanford, which is one of the top schools in the world, in the country. And my son went to Wharton Business School, which is, 1 or 2 or 3 top business school in the world. And that's not an accident. That's because they both became voracious readers and really studied and did well academically. And so I think that's one of the best things I did with my children. I think if you copy that, I've had many people I've told that to that have done that, and I've got unbelievably positive feedback from them regarding that. So that's just a little nugget I think could be helpful. So here we go from Heather Tipton. You probably said it to yourself 100 times before, I really need to start reading more. When you're an out-of-the-habit adult with a full schedule, however, finding the time to pick up a book can be a challenge. But this is a goal worth striving for. Science is beginning to back up what book lovers already know. Reading offers far-reaching benefits for your life. The activity increases blood flow to your brain and amps up cognitive functioning, according to a Stanford University study. And reading regularly can make you calmer, a more empathetic person. The good news is, with a little bit of direction, you can absolutely start reading more. Here are 5 easy ways to get you reading more right now. 1, set a specific book reading goal. How many books do you want to read? How fast do you want to read them? Picking out specific numbers will make it easier to track your progress and to celebrate your victories. Goodreads is a great tool to help you keep track of your book list and setting up your reading goals for the year. The app also lets you rally your Facebook friends to join you on your journey and encourage progress. So that's Goodreads. It's an app. I have not heard of that before. Get a head start with these timeless classics. Number 1, Think and Grow Rich. I've read Think and Grow Rich maybe 15 times. It's one of the most impactful books I've ever read. I highly, highly recommend that. The second is How to Win Friends and Influence People. One of the things, if you're going to be successful, you've got to know how to win friends, and you've got to learn how to influence people. That book is a timeless classic. And then The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is another fantastic book written many years ago. All these books were written, decades ago, but are really fantastic books and must-reads in my opinion. I've read, like I said, all these books, everything from 1979 through today. Everything I've read has been regarded, it's all regarding personal development, trying to get better, trying to grow myself. And I think that if you start that habit, one thing will happen, you'll get better. And as you get better, things will get better. Your thinking will improve. And as your thinking improves, your actions will improve. And as your actions improve, your results will improve along with that in so many different ways. Number 2, schedule a non-negotiable time to read. Carve out a block of time that can only be used for reading. Schedule it in your planner. Make it as important as eating, dinner, or sleeping, because it is. Use an app such as Evernote or even a simple alarm clock to remind you that it's time to pick up a book. Choose your time carefully, though. Complicated material is easier to understand early in the morning when your mental clarity is at its peak. Carve out a block of time that can only be used for reading. Schedule it in your planner and make it as important as eating dinner or sleeping. Number 3, set up a space to read. Pick a room free from loud distractions. Set up your reading sanctuary where it's quiet. Like I'm doing this right now, I have a room that's very, very quiet. That's my sanctuary that I do calls from, and I do Zoom calls from, and I read from. And so you find a comfy chair near a lamp and a small table. Most important, don't file that book away in between reading sessions. Leave it out in the open to keep it at the top of your mind. Number 4, pick a format that you enjoy. The debate of ebooks versus tree books will wage on, but here are some nuggets of information to help you decide. Ebooks are instant, portable, and fun to play with. They can make it easier to locate hard-to-find titles, and the text and page appearance are customizable, which is great if you have trouble reading small type. If you can't fit another charger in your outlet, however, paper books are truly cordless as well as being much easier to share. They can give your eyes a break from staring at a screen. But the biggest draw for paper books comes down to pure sentimentality. There's just something about holding them in your hand, Truth be told, neither format is objectively better than the other. Just pick what works best for you. Well, for me, I have so many books. I use a Kindle because I can have hundreds and hundreds of books on there and access to them instantly. And, especially when I travel, I hate carrying, books are heavy. So if you have, 3 or 4 or 5 books, it weighs down your backpack or whatever. And it just becomes difficult. So for me, I rather use a Kindle, and it's been really, really a good move for me personally. And then 5, visit the library. Well, I love libraries. Libraries are just, one of the things I always have thought about libraries, or even a great bookstore, just the thousands of different titles and books are, and how little we know about anything. There's so much material on every topic, subject you could possibly imagine, and it just proves how little we know. And it's humbling, and it also, it's a resource for you. Anytime you're having an issue with one thing or another, you have a place to go to find a solution to that issue. And that's one of the great things about books. Perhaps been a while since the last time you went to the library. Maybe your third grade teacher made you, but give it a shot. Today's libraries look nothing like the dusty shelves you remember. Now they're well stocked with the latest titles in a variety of formats, including audiobooks. And since it's free, it's a risk-free way to try out topics that you're not usually into. If you're an ebook reader, check out the Overdrive app. It lets you virtually check out ebooks and audiobooks from your local library for free with a library card. I didn't even know that existed. That's a great, great thing to do. So I hope that this helps you in moving towards becoming a voracious reader, because I know without a shadow of doubt it's going to have a gigantic impact on your life.